Happy New Year. Welcome to Be a Light with Muxiang podcast. I'm your host, Muxiang. Over the years, through many platforms, organizations across the globe, I have met many inspirational individuals. At the end of last year, I met someone very inspiring who values human connection, kindness, authenticity. Today, I have the privilege to have invited my guest, Rob Lawless. So welcome, Rob.
Thank you. Good to see you again. Good to be here. I'm honored. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, welcome. Last year, it was my honor to be part of your project.
Yeah.
And your project focuses on human connection, which aligns with the mission of my podcast, which promotes kindness, human connection, authenticity, and knowledge sharing. So tell me a little bit about your background, Rob.
Yeah. So I am currently on a mission to spend an hour one-on-one with 10,000 different people. And I started this journey in November of 2015. And I think I just met number 6,718. So about 67% of the way through the journey. And yeah, I've been doing it since November 2015. I took it full time in June of 2016. So this has kind of been the majority of my life in recent years. And now I do keynote speeches about the value of intentional connection and how to create it. So my life is a marriage of meeting like four new people every day and then talking about meeting people and why other people should do it. But my background, I grew up in the suburbs of Philly. I live in Philadelphia right now. So I'm near the Art Museum, if anyone is familiar with that, where Rocky runs up the steps during his training montage. But I grew up in the suburbs, like 40 minutes outside of the city. I'm the youngest of three, and like both my older siblings, I went to Penn State University. So I studied finance when I was there, and I minored in accounting and entrepreneurship. And I was also really involved as a student. So I did a bunch of different clubs and activities. I gave tours to prospective students. I raised money for the fight against pediatric cancer. I was part of a fraternity that restarted. I built houses with Habitat for Humanity, and I was a homecoming captain. So I had all these different things going on, but what that led to was me creating a lot of connections on campus. And Penn State, despite being 40,000 students, felt like a very small community to me, and I really liked that sense of familiarity. So when I graduated in 2013, I started doing consulting for Deloitte, and I struggled with going from that community into the cubicle and not feeling like I was creating any more authentic connections. And I kind of wanted a way to get back to that. And I had minored in entrepreneurship at Penn State. And so, despite being in this corporate environment, making good money and having all the security, I wasn't feeling fulfilled. So, I felt like I had to take some type of a leap and go on an adventure. And I left Deloitte to go to a tech startup. I moved into Philly for that job. And when I was there, I decided to start this project. So I just started reaching out to people and documenting my interactions with them on Instagram. And yeah, now here we are, 6,700 people later. So
Wow, 6,700 people already.
yes, yeah.
Wow, wow, very close to your goal, right?
Yeah, we're getting there. I think so I'm like 3,300 people away, but I think time-wise, probably about 7 years till completion.
Okay, wow, your action and leaving your usual, like good paid
Hmm.
position to chasing something. Maybe it's not tangible, a
Yeah.
passion project. Would you
Yeah.
mind to share a little bit about that situation, this shift? Because it's a huge shift.
Yeah, I think a lot of people were confused at first. I mean, my brother was always like super supportive from the start. My parents, my older sister, they needed a little more time to process what was going on. My friends, I think, were a little bit confused, but I was the type of person in my friend group who would take a leap like this anyways. So it did kind of fit my brand that they knew me as. But yeah, I think people from the like older generations couldn't understand why I would leave the security of a Deloitte consulting because Deloitte was also going to pay for me to get my MBA
Mhm.
and when I was working at Deloitte, I had a girlfriend that my family really liked. And so it was like you're checking all the boxes that society wants for you to check, and then people see you moving away from that security and those milestones, and they're like, why are you doing that? And so it took a while for people to really understand it, but I think with anyone who is doing something, like I've always said with my project, it's a silly idea until it's not. In the beginning, when people were like, you're going to meet 10,000 people, how many have you met? And I would tell them that I've met 10. And they would laugh at me. And I was like, well, I can't get to 10,000 without getting to 10 first. Like now I'm at 6,700 and people take it seriously
Mhm.
because I have gotten this far, but I couldn't have gotten this far without doing the initial ones.
Yes.
So yeah, it just took time. And I think that I've learned that like other people aren't going to see your vision from the beginning. Like only you can see your vision. And it's your responsibility to bring it to fruition. And then you gotta like drag them along and be like, here's what I told you that was
Yeah.
going to happen.
Yeah.
So, and I think the project, fortunately, the people that I was meeting with throughout always thought it was interesting. So I was getting the validation from them. And even in the early days, the press started to pick up on it. And I've had been lucky enough to do like local press and national press about the project throughout the years. So that was validating. So it was like
Yeah.
I always had something to help push me forward. But I always think that I was the biggest fan of my project because I just thought it was
Yeah.
interesting and I really enjoyed meeting with people. So I was always driven to continue doing it because I was having a fun time with it.
Yeah. I bet you have to have the passion to do this type of unconventional project. And
Yeah.
and your project actually tasks so much. Like all the other projects, it takes one at a time. And you are counting.
Mhm.
Basically, you are reaching close to your goal every day and every after meeting every person. Yeah.
Yeah, it's I think a lot of people have commented on the consistency of it. Like people who followed it for a long time now
Yeah.
because they've seen that I've not taken time off from it or I mean, I'll take like days off now if it's like a holiday or something of
Yeah.
doing something with my family, but I have never gotten to a point where I was like, oh, I feel tired today. I'm not going to meet people or I don't want to do this right now. Like for the last 9 years, every time I've just been working towards it and I haven't strayed from the goal. And yeah, again, I think part of that is because I enjoy it so much.
Yeah, that's great. Human connection, as you said, that's what you were trying to uh, reveal the power of that
For
part.
sure.
Yeah. So during this project, how you select uh, the candidates who you are interviewing? Do
I just
you do you select or you find someone randomly?
Yeah, it's whoever reaches out to me. I mean, in the beginning, I wasn't really like there was a who's next list in Philadelphia, and it'd be like who's next in the culinary scene or who's next in the political scene or the art scene. And I just emailed all those people because I was working in sales at the time. So I could find people's emails and shoot them a message and say, hey, do you want to be part of this thing that I'm doing? And it was people that I found to be interesting and people who were all strangers to me. People sometimes are like, did you start with your family and your friends and share their stories? And I think that's a big misconception with my project is like people think that the main reason I'm doing it is to share other people's stories. And it's not like the main reason I'm doing it is to create connection with people. And then I share their stories as a byproduct.
Yeah.
So I, yeah, I just wanted to meet new and interesting people. And that was like a lot of artists in Philly or street artists or people who worked in music or different things. And from there, when I started my Instagram account, if people liked to post, I would reach out to them and say, hey, here's what I'm doing. Do you want to be part of it? Or if they followed my account because of a hashtag or whatever, I'd be like, hey, here's what I'm doing. Do you want to be part of it? And as the press picked up in the word of mouth, people started reaching out. And so I kind of was just meeting people on a first come, first serve basis. There was really no selection process. And I wanted the project to naturally diversify.
Yeah.
And it has gone in all these different areas and industries and whatnot. And I used to meet everyone in person. So the first 3,259 people were all in person. And then when COVID happened, I went virtual. And then I met people from like 90 countries around the world.
Wow.
So it's just gone off in all these different directions, which I've really enjoyed because I haven't had to like push it there, push it
Hmm.
over there. So part of my curiosity with it is like, how does it naturally evolve and unfold and where does it go? So
Yeah.
sometimes it's like the project is leading me and I'm not really leading it. Other times I feel like I have to push it a little bit um, just to continue doing it. But yeah, it's like a nice balance of that.
Yeah. I see so many types of power from your project. Not,
Mhm.
of course, the core um, initiative you had is just you want to find the connection with others. But now when I see your project, it's like expanding, have this ripple effect. And
Mhm.
once you meet this person would introduce other people to you. I think that's really, really powerful, right?
Yeah.
And especially when your central message you want to discover people's also the power of authenticity or positivity. This is just a very, very impactful.
Yeah, I think it's cool. And I saw that when Caroline saw your post about
Yes,
me
yeah, yeah,
and started her One Friend Fridays and was having a good time with that. And she
yeah,
started that before she and I had even met. And it's
yeah,
just it's cool to see and like how your actions can have an impact on other people. And I think I'm very much that way. I feel like in today's world, there's a lot of like talk. A lot of people are always like putting their thoughts out on Instagram or putting their thoughts out on LinkedIn or whatever. And I have just pulled back on my talk and I want my actions to lead.
yeah,
And I feel like I should probably get back out there and talk more too about what I'm learning. But yeah, I've always just wanted to lead by action. I think it's really cool when you see that what you're doing shows other people the value of connection and then they want to create it in their own lives. And that's something that is important for me that other people take note of.
yeah. Actually, that's my next question is what lessons you learned from this project so far? What are the key takeaways so far from your project?
I always say the biggest, and I've been saying this for years, and I feel like I learned this lesson early on, and then it's just been reiterated over time, is no one really knows what they're doing with their lives. Everyone is just doing the best they can with the resources that they have. And uh, also, like, we oftentimes interact with each other so much on a surface level. Like, if you're out getting your coffee or whatever, you give your order to the barista, they take it, they take your money, they give it back, and or like you pass someone on the highway, they cut you off or whatever. Like we have a lot of these surface level interactions with strangers, and we rarely take the opportunity to dive into the depth of their stories. And when you recognize the depth of people's stories, you realize like who they are right now is the culmination of all the experiences they've been through up to that point. So you can't truly understand them unless you're willing to understand everything that they've been part of in the past. And like for me, doing that has led to this understanding that we all have these backgrounds and it gives you more grace for people. And to me, it's made me more grateful for my own path. Like I say, I operate on a scale of gratitude to possibility now.
Mm-hmm.
In the sense, like I grew up with two parents, two older siblings, in a loving family, had the opportunity to get a college education, and I would have what I would describe as a non-traumatic upbringing. And you would think that like a lot of my friends had the same thing. So I could think that that's how everyone's life is. And then you talk to people and you realize that's not the case. Like other people have different paths. So
Yeah,
I'm very lucky to have had that experience. And I feel like I've discovered I've had all these gifts with me my entire life. And now I'm just directing more of my energy and focus to them.
yeah,
And yeah, just realizing that we're all like very similar. I think like you growing up in the mountains of China, right?
mm,
Me growing up in the suburbs of Philadelphia, like two wildly different places,
yes,
but we all want to be loved by our loved ones. Like we all want to do something that we're passionate about. We all want to be able to to do things that we find to be fun. We have dreams for where we want to go in the future. So I've just realized like how human everyone is. And we all have times when we're confident. We all have times when we're insecure and uncertain. And I think being able to lift up the hood with so many different people has given me a very real, accurate picture of people that I now am able to think about when I'm having those surface level interactions with people. Like my mind is more trained to think of the full person now. And I think that's been a huge learning lesson.
Yeah, that's a profound lesson actually for everyone to learn.
Mhm.
Everyone has a different background. I still remember during our conversation, I was like so emotional and telling
Sure.
you all about my
Yeah.
background. Probably to many people, it's almost impossible to imagine the type of lives the other people actually have lived or experienced. But by this, like this genuine and also authentic human
Hmm.
connection, you really can reach to people's deep level of their lives. And just for today, this is never been in my dream before in my past. Being able to speak with you here in English,
Yeah.
which I was very insecure about my language for many years
Hmm.
until very recently. So I totally agree with you. We can't control the life. We don't know how it goes, and very random. And sometimes it's luck,
Hmm.
totally luck. So what we can do is we can embrace whatever we have in front of us and what we value the most, and then put the most energy to it. Yeah,
Yeah. No,
lovely.
I definitely agree.
Yeah. So, would you mind to share one or two stories of people you have met that left the strongest impression on you?
Sure. I think it's I had a conversation with a guy a couple weeks ago, and we were talking about like the perspective you get when you lose a loved one or when you go through a major life event. And he made a comment that was like, "Oh, well, isn't it a shame that that goes away after like a month or two? Like you get back into your normal routine, and then you sort of forget those lessons that you're being taught in that time." And I was like, "Well, not for me because I'm always talking to other people. So every week I'm hearing some story that is grounding me and keeping life in perspective." And um, on Monday, I met a guy who he was in the National Guard. He was 32, I think, at the time in December 2018, and he went out to a bar with his friends. And as they were walking to the Uber, a drunk driver hit a concrete barrier, like one of those concrete poles that's supposed to protect people from cars.
Yeah.
And the concrete, it was not the right concrete. Like the company that installed it was trying to cut corners, but
Oh,
the barrier exploded and the concrete basically like shrapnel went in and destroyed this guy's leg. And
oh,
he said he looked at his leg and it was flayed open like a steak, and he could see the bone of his leg, and went through like this whole experience of not knowing if he was going to have to amputate his leg or not, and deciding whether or not he should keep it. And he had just run 3 marathons before, so he's a
yeah.
athletic person, and now all of a sudden he can't use his leg. But he went back to the gym and just slowly started walking, and then built up the courage to jog. And he would walk and jog and walk and jog, and he got back 10 months later, he did a marathon again.
Wow.
Yeah. And which is crazy because his leg didn't even have like the muscle was no longer there. They had to do some type of graft just to make sure he had something on his calf. And he did a marathon in like 5 hours and 55 minutes, I think he said, which is super impressive coming 10 months after an injury like that. But then he wanted to push himself further and further, and now he's done a total of 38 marathons. I think he's done one as fast as 3 hours and 30 minutes or something like that. So I met him on Monday, and it's
Wow.
like I can hear his story and be thankful for the fact that I have full use of both of my legs and I
Mhm.
have the ability to walk. And it was 6,700 something people into my project. I didn't stop getting perspective because I've just met more people. Like I've always continued to get perspective. And I had a woman that I met in May, and I had just been rear-ended in a car accident here in
Oh,
Philly, and then I had to take my car to the shop 2 weeks later because it was still drivable. And I took it to a meeting that Monday, and then I had to take it to the shop on Wednesday, so I just parked it for 2 days. And in the time that I had parked it, someone else had hit it, like in the night or whatever, all new damage. And so I was all like down on my luck in that week, not very happy, huge inconvenience. And then 2 days later, I met this woman who had come down from Brooklyn to meet me, and we sat on the art museum steps, and she was telling me about, long story short, like her three daughters and how proud she was of her middle daughter. But she told me about how in September of 2019, her daughter became the victim of a murder suicide. Her daughter's boyfriend had shot her and killed her, and then he killed himself. And she's telling me this through tears in her eyes, and like telling me things that she was saying, like she'll see people that look like her daughter on the subway in New York, and she can't not look at them because to her she feels like she's seeing her daughter.
hmm.
And she's like, they probably think that I'm so weird, or like, why is this woman staring at me? And she can't look away because she's seeing in her mind her daughter. And I thought that was such a poignant just note on her experience. And hearing that made all my car troubles go away. And
Yeah,
I was like,
yeah,
okay, that's an inconvenience. Like the car got fixed, it's fine. Whatever. It's now not part of my life, but her daughter is still not in her life. And the contrast of those experiences, like me feeling like a woe is me to 2 days later getting that kind of slap in the face of reality, I think is something that'll stick with me for a long time. And again, this is just the last 6 months. I've been doing this for 9 years. So
yeah,
you can like see how that would always be present. And that's a big reason why I like to continue meeting people. I just you never know what people have been through.
yeah, yeah, totally. Wow. I I can see that in my last interview with a French surgeon, a retired surgeon,
Mm.
he also volunteered in Africa, so he has seen a lot of traumatic uh, lives, and then he saved some lives too. So yeah, I totally agree with you. It's about privilege that we have. Uh, Actually, we're enjoying now. Sometimes we don't realize until we compare what we have now with some people who don't have.
Right.
And also we mix the conceptions of tragedy with instance. Like
Mhm.
probably your car problem
Yeah,
is just an inconvenience, as you say, inconvenience instance,
yeah.
which can be fixed,
Hmm.
unlike losing lives and all types of tragedies. Yeah, it definitely meeting other people, hearing people's stories allow us to evaluate our lives and to appreciate what we have a lot more.
Definitely. Yeah, it's all reference points. I say everyone's feelings are valid and everything is relative. So, but I feel like you can create whatever reality you want for yourself. And if you go out and meet more people and hear their stories, you're constantly plotting the reference points to make sure you're keeping your own life in perspective.
Yeah,
Otherwise, I think it's very easy to get overwhelmed with your own story because life is hard. And
yeah,
yeah, when you have a bad day or a string of bad days, it's very easy to get into that negative space. But
yeah,
I just feel like I've been able to avoid that in my life for so long because I am always understanding where I fit on the spectrum of life paths.
yeah, yeah, totally. Yeah, having those references help us ground us and being able to live in the reality
Yeah.
sometimes. Yeah, sometimes we can, yeah, the mind can take us away from the reality a little bit.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
totally.
so because it's closer to towards your uh, goal as the 10K friends, what's your plan if after you finish the 10K friends meeting?
So right, I'm doing like keynote speeches now, which
Mm,
is how I'm supporting myself, and that's great. And I see a solid future in that field for me, and I would love to continue growing as a speaker.
yeah.
There's a lot of work for me to do in that space, and learning the art of speaking and how to move people with my words and the stories that I have and like the way that I tell those stories. So I'd love to just continue to try to master that art and then hopefully speak like twice a month after the project is done. I think it'd be great to be a professor at a local university and teach a first year course for students on human connection. Like I want there to be a class where they pair off one-on-one every class period and learn from each other's backgrounds as opposed to a textbook or a PowerPoint slide. Because
Mhm.
I feel like one, it would help put them at ease at school. It helped them establish friendships early on when everyone's networks are malleable. It would help them build empathy for other people. It helped them get better at telling their own story for job interviews and whatnot. And I think it's a great way for universities to create value for their students. So I just want to do that, like be the cool professor that has the life experience, that has done what he's telling other people to do, uh, and then travel like once or twice a month to speak, and then have a wife and kids and direct most of my time to them. And maybe like a lot of people ask me if will write a book. I think that I will write a book. I'm not dying to write a book. Like it sounds like a exhausting task to me, but I think it'd be cool to share from my end what this experience has been, just to like bring people into it a little bit more. So those are the things for now. I think my ultimate goal is to infuse more empathy into the world. So I'll just be thinking about different ways that I can do that. And yeah, who knows? I don't know if there will be some other entrepreneurial endeavor that I will set for myself. One of the things I like about this project is the goal is so far out in the future that it's like the carrot in front of the horse almost. Like it's driving me every
Yeah,
day to move forward. And I think for me at least, after graduating from college, it's like you work hard in high school because the carrot in front of the horse is, oh, well, you want to get into a good college. And then when you're in college, you work hard because the carrot is, oh, you want to get a good job. And then when I got to Deloitte, I was like, I don't know what the carrot is anymore. Like I got the job and I
yeah,
can't become partner tomorrow. So yeah, I don't know. I struggled to see what was next, and I feel like I had to set my own goal for me. So I could see myself setting a new goal, but I don't think it would be like 20,000 people or anything like that.
yeah.
Maybe, yeah, something different. But yeah, that's what I think will happen right now. But I'm always like, I have 7 more years to go between now and then. So future me will have a little bit more experience with which to make that decision. So we'll see.
Yeah. Well, that's amazing. I already can think of so many ideas about your
Mhm.
books.
Oh yeah,
Like
yeah.
when I was listening, you got so much, and this is your asset, and you
hmm
can use it for whatever the areas you want to get into. I think those are awesome ideas and teaching and books and speaking, and also having a loving family. I wish you dreams come true very
Yeah.
soon.
Yeah, thank
Yeah.
you.
That's just awesome. So from like a bigger scale, what you think about this human connection uh, can really affect the entire world type of things. I can see it, but
Mhm.
would you like to explain a little bit actually from your project can affect the world positively?
Yeah, I think well, like I've seen people who've seen my project and have started their own versions in Brazil, in India, in Germany, in Ethiopia, in Canada. So getting like a lot of the continents now. And
Yes.
I just think it's interesting because I didn't tell any of those people to do their own journeys. But again, they saw the value in it. And it's like by them doing it, who else will see the value in them doing it and be inspired? And I think a lot of the bad in the world is because, they say like hurt people hurt people.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people make negative noise when they don't feel that they are seen or heard. And it's almost like
Mhm.
their way of acting out. And
Yeah.
you see that like so often. So I think if people felt seen and they felt heard and they felt loved by the people around them, there would not be as much anger for them to want
Mhm.
to take out on other people. So yeah, I mean, I'm not like I understand there will always be like a bell curve of good that happens in the world and bad that happens in the world, but
Mhm.
I think there's a I think people can take a chill pill and relax
Yes.
and get to know each other and like even that process does not have to be so tense.
Mhm.
I think over the last what a like decade, like diversity, equity, and inclusion has been a big topic, and then it was like something that everyone was pushing for, and now like people are pushing away from it, and it's to me is mind-boggling. Like I always say the best DEI education I've ever got was just meeting people for no reason through my project. It wasn't like a training to learn this or that. Like I naturally learned what my privileges were, what other people's cultures were, like what we shared in common, what was different about us by having a curiosity about their lives.
Mhm.
And I wish more people would just do that and be like, okay, like we're just connecting with each other. It doesn't have to be that crazy. It's just something that we as humans are built to do. So let's go out and do it. So yeah,
Yeah.
I just think it would contribute to like a a bit more of a peaceful
Peaceful world.
world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I totally agree. I love to promote kindness, positivity, and authenticity, and all that is because if we have this capacity to understand other people's perspectives, and as you said, take a chill pill, that perhaps we can avoid a lot of conflicts, and including unnecessary wars and all those type of conflicts make people's lives harder.
Mhm.
Yeah, with the deep understanding like you currently have now, I think I have the similar, but maybe not as deep as yours. I don't know,
Yeah.
but with this capacity of understanding of other people allows us to have the capacity to embrace different the diversity and
Mhm.
also keep the equity and inclusion in mind.
Yeah.
This is almost like you don't need to learn it from a textbook. It's
Mhm.
life experience. It's the exposure allows us to extend our capacity for that.
Yeah, it reminds me, I forget the saying, if it's like a rising tide lifts all boats. And it's like once you realize
Yes.
that you are really connected to the other people around you,
Yeah.
like you want other people to succeed
Yes.
because you want everyone to lift up
Yeah.
together. It's not like a zero-sum game where one person has to succeed and the other has to fail. It's like, and I think a lot of people think about it in that way, but and I've learned through my project, like you're connected to people that you don't even know you're connected to. But just
Mm-hmm.
because you can't say it doesn't mean you're not connected to them. So
Yeah.
it's in your best interest to treat the people around you well because in the end, it's coming back to you. And like
Yeah.
you really,
Totally.
even if you were from a selfish standpoint, want your life to be better, that is a
Yes.
result of treating the people around you better.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. Yeah. If we can control how others behave or how others see the world, at least control how we behave, how we set the example. That's
Yes.
that's what I have been doing um, for my daughter or for the people around me. And our action is so small compared to the world, but we can be that drop of water to make this positive ripple effect.
Yeah.
I loved your project, and again, I loved the opportunity to meet
Mhm.
with you, and again, inviting you to be on my podcast. Hopefully, the value of human connection will be valued by others too.
Yeah.
Do you have any other big messages you would like to share with our audience?
I, I will just say that I think one of the reasons that I've enjoyed my project so much and that I think other people have enjoyed it is because I've learned to treat human connection as an experience rather than a transaction.
Mm.
And I think especially as adults, we think about like, okay, well, where's this going to lead? What is this going to go to a business deal? Is this going to do this or that? And it's like if you just step back and you experience it for what it is, no matter what direction the conversation goes, it's the right direction. And that makes it overall like a more enjoyable thing that you're going to want to go out and do again in your life. So yeah, it's like to me it's the same as like someone who likes playing tennis, going to play tennis. Like you do it because it's fun and you
Yes.
enjoy the experience, or going to like a botanical garden. You're like there observing the plants and observing the flowers. You're not judging them and feeling like a certain way towards them.
Yeah.
You're there to acknowledge them. And I feel like I've learned to do that with people through my project. And I think the world needs more of that. So more treating human connection as an experience rather than a transaction.
I love this message, but
Mhm.
so many people, because of in the commercial world, always thinking about time is money, connection is money, always thinking about the money. That's why when I met with you last year, and I felt so connected with you immediately. We
Mhm.
didn't have any connection before, but I was able to open myself and talking about experiences that I had. I wasn't able to share with people publicly so easily. Um,
Mhm.
but you created this space for me
Mhm.
to share. And I hope other people can open up for the others to share, encourage others to share. So I loved this experience, and thank you so much for the wonderful, impactful messages that you shared with our audience.
Yeah, thank you for giving me a platform. It's nice to, as you said last time, I was hearing your story, and I love hearing people's stories, and I appreciate when people give me a platform to share mine. So thank you for having me on, and yeah, it's great to see you again. That's the beauty of the project. You open the door and you never know when you're going to walk back through it.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, so thank you all for listening or watching our episode today. If you are interested in Rob's project, please reach out to him
Yeah.
to set up an hour session, actually better than your therapist session, to be honest, and to really create the genuine human connection. And also, if you like this episode, please share with the people you love, and also be the authentic yourself, be kind, and be brave to share your stories, because we don't know, maybe your story will help others to be brave, to live a better life they wanted. So thank you so much, Rob, and thanks to our audience.
Thank you.